Do the members of the commission have any changes to the agenda? Staff, do you have any changes to the agenda?
Nothing from staff.
May I have a motion for the adoption of tonight's agenda?
I so move.
Is there,
Second?
and there's a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Perfect. Now, section 2, approval of the May 2nd, 2022 Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting minutes. Commissioners, are there any changes to the meeting minutes from last time? Staff, any changes?
Nothing from staff.
Perfect. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
And there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Perfect, that passes. At this time, are there any members on the Zoom meeting who wish to speak? All right. Hearing
I'm
if
not seeing
there's
anybody.
nobody there. Perfect. So now we'll move on to the public hearing for tonight's Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program in the 2020 Annual Report. Ms. Jen Destrud, would you like to join us?
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jen Destrud. I'm the city engineer, and we typically have a consultant doing this report, and she's unavailable tonight, so I'm going to be doing it. If you have any questions, I can most likely answer them, but if I have any that I don't know, I can get that information back to you after conferring with our consultant. So tonight is our 2021 annual report and public hearing for our Mpdes Phase 2 Stormwater Permit. I'll go through those acronyms in a little bit. We do an annual report every year, and so even though we're well into 2022, this is to look back on 2021, take comments tonight that we would implement into our 2022 report. So Mpdes stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, and that's a federal program. And then MS4 is Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So 4 S's there, and that is for cities or any entity that has conveys stormwater either through pipes or through the curb and gutter system. Tonight we're going to talk about our 2021 highlights, how we're complying with our permit, and then looking forward. So the Mpdes is, like I had said, it's a federal program that was started through the Clean Water Act, and then the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is the governing agency in the state that implements our permit. And the city of Burnsville is a Phase 2 small MS4. So we have, I think the next one shows, we have a stormwater conveyance system, and it is, you know, storm sewers and curb and gutter. We have lakes and ponds and things like that, and all of that leads to rivers that, you know, we want to make sure that we're keeping healthy and clean. So the MS4 permits, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, also called a SWIP. We have one that shows that we're trying to prevent stormwater pollution in our city, and then the permit, this MS4 permit that is issued by the state, has minimum control measures, and those are just the requirements of having the permit. So I'm going to go through each of those minimum control measures. Number 1 is having public education and outreach, and so we have that through our city newsletter. We do press releases when we're doing events. Some of our natural resources staff does presentations on like rain gardens and things like that. We have our city website that has all of our information on it, and then we do things through social media. So we're complying with minimum control measure number 1. Minimum control measure number 2 is public participation and involvement, which is tonight. This is our annual meeting. In 2020, our annual meeting was held about a year ago, and we received no comments. And then today is our 2021 annual meeting. On our website, seeing that we don't have a packed house looking to make comments tonight, there's a comment link, and so anyone listening at home can go to our website, and at the end of this slideshow, I have the more details about how to do that and comment online. Minimum control measure 3 is illicit discharge detection and elimination. And so we go and inspect outfalls and priority areas in industrial areas, and then people can report illicit discharges, which would be people emptying things down a storm drain, or, you know, paint or oils or whatever. In 2021, we had 2 illicit discharges. But there was no enforcement because one of them was related to a car accident where some gasoline went into the pond. We then, city staff had to clean that up, and so that was the response. But we didn't have anyone to enforce. And then there was one incident that was reported, could not find the origin of it, so we did clean up on it. Measure 4 is construction site runoff control. So we have development projects throughout the city, and we do inspections on those projects to make sure that they're following the rules with erosion control. And last year, we had 11 active projects that were greater than 1 acre. We had far more projects than that, but the permit requires us to just track the ones that are over 1 acre. We are tracking every single construction permit that has chance of erosion control, and we have an inspector. So with just the 11 active projects that are over 1 acre, we had 182 inspections last year, 42 notices of violation where we could witness sediment leaving the site, and 76 corrective notices, which is more, you know, your silt fence is full, it needs to be cleaned out and things like that. So a less critical issue, but something that we then let them know they need to fix. Measure 5 is post-construction runoff control. So this is when development projects add new impervious surface, and new impervious surface without any treatment would run right into the storm sewer system and right into the lake or river or whatever. So the requirement is that they have to match the pre-development runoff rates. So that requires ponding or some sort of retention on site and then releasing that stormwater slowly as if it were undeveloped. And we have some minimum impact design standards which are trying to infiltrate as much of that stormwater so it doesn't leave the site at all. Again, the permit is about projects that are over 1 acre in size. We have lots of smaller projects that also have to meet our requirements, but we had to keep track of or have a record for the 8 projects that were over 1 acre. And then measure 6 is pollution prevention and good housekeeping. So this is more about inspecting the infrastructure we have. We inspected all of our structural stormwater BMPs in 2021. And then we have outfalls, which are the entranceways into different ponds, and we inspect 21% of those, and then we went and inspected about 28% of our ponds. We have 488 ponds. They're on, we do try and do every 5 years get to each one. We inspected more than we needed to. We only needed to do 20%. So I wanted to just highlight a project that we did last year, the Willow Creek restoration. So the location is south of Williams Drive and east of Judicial. So the little green star is kind of about where it is. And this is what it looked like before. So this, I don't know if you can see my mouse. This is a house up here, and then just really steep slopes. You can see roots exposed. This property owner was trying to keep the bank stable with some wire, like chicken wire and some other things. He tried to do it with some 4x4s and stuff, and it just wasn't working. This is another picture where you can see it just drops straight off. And this one here also shows bare roots and a pretty steep slope and not any vegetation able to grow. So going back to this picture, this is what we did. And these green lines are storm sewer systems. So there's a storm sewer outlet right here that kind of forms the creek, and then another contributing. So it's stormwater from the streets that makes this creek. And these areas that are sort of in this darker orange, we lined the creek edges with, it's called this hard armor and anchored slopes, but it's big rocks and tree logs. And then the yellow line is the existing, was the existing creek, and it did this big bend. And some of those pictures we're showing right here, well, we realigned the creek in the purple to get rid of this big bend because this was going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing if we didn't do something. And then this in the tan color is called a gabion retaining wall. So we were able to build a little retaining wall, then flatten out the slopes on the top. And then going along, we had these more armored, and I can show some pictures of that. So this is the gabion wall. And then this is that house where he had like that wire and stuff. It's just a much flatter slope, so 3 feet horizontal to 1 foot vertical is a 3-to-1 slope. And it gets to the top here. This is too close to that house. That property owner might want to do their own work. This is not on city property or anything. We had to get easements for everything. And then this rock here is what's called that hard armoring side slope. Here's another picture, and you can see that we used some logs. We did have to remove quite a bit of trees because the slope was, we had to totally grade the slope. So removing all those trees, and then we could reuse them along the sides of the creek. And then this is that outlet pipe right here in the sort of middle, and then a lot of rock so that when the water's coming out here at a high velocity, the rock slows it down before it kind of cuts into. These pictures are showing before we were able to get in and seed. Our contractor was just out there, I believe last week, finishing up the seed restoration. And then we also added some new little trees along this slope. So water quality benefits, we estimated using a model, a total phosphorus reduction of 22.25 pounds per year and about 44,500 pounds per year of total suspended solids, which that is just coming from that side banks just falling into the creek and then being washed down. This end of the line is the Minnesota River. And so this was a huge benefit to them. The total project cost about $300,000, and Lower Minnesota River Watershed District is funding $75,000 because they saw the benefit, even though the project is actually outside of their legal limits. So for compliance, we had our 2020 meeting last year, no comments, so no changes were made. Our annual review and self-assessment was due for 2021, and we submitted that in the end of April. And tonight is our 2021 annual meeting for reporting in 2022. Looking forward, there was a new MS4 permit released in November of 2020 with some changed requirements. So we're going to have to update some of our processes and some of our city codes. We submitted that application on April 14th, and then they took that summer of 2021 to review our application, and we received permit coverage on September 28th of 2021. And now we have until September 28th of 2022 to comply with all the new things that are in the permit. So that's something we're actively working on right now. And some of that has to do with pet waste. We have to regulate pet waste and making sure that people pick it up. And there's some other things that we're working on that might be a city code requirement. So tonight we're asking to hold a public hearing to see if there are any comments on what I presented on our stormwater pollution prevention plan, on the permit itself. If anyone is watching, if you go to burnsvillemn.gov/SWIP, SWPPP, there's an online comment form. And if anyone wants to contact me directly, I can leave this up on the screen, and it shows my email address, my phone number, that website, and all of the things that are on it.
All right. I would like to open up this item for a public hearing. There is nobody here. Is there anybody online that's popping up?
I'm not receiving any information that anybody is waiting to speak.
All right, so we will close the public hearing. And commissioners, do you have any comments, questions?
It's really impressive, actually, for just a creek.
Yeah, it was a big project, and we every other year have in our CIP a slope restoration type project. So a couple years ago we had one, and I think we presented it to this group in this meeting, and it does the erosion savings, I guess, if you can prevent it, is huge for water quality.
So are you confident that the seeding that's going to go on those slopes is going to stay and retain some of the water?
Yeah, where there's not trees, it's open and it's getting sun, and I think it'll establish. It's a more gentle slope, it's mowable. And then we did plant in some trees and shrubs, which will also help with that anchoring of the slope. But a 3-to-1 slope is the maximum slope that we allow any developer to have. It's mowable and it's can be stable. It's when you get to those, like the slopes we were showing in there, the ones that weren't protected were 1 to 1, probably 1 foot to 1 foot, or 1/2 to 1. So just like a sheer drop off. When I went to the site, it was all tree lined, so you couldn't fall necessarily, but we did climb down there holding trees to make sure we made our way. It was very, very steep. It's not like that anymore.
And you had identified the phosphorus. What would happen in terms of phosphorus and water quality had intervention not been done?
So I think it has to do with life in the water. I can get more information on that if you like, but all of this goes to the Minnesota River. And so we're trying to prevent that phosphorus being introduced into the water bodies. I think there's some fish life and some aquatics that it kills them. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that out of the water. I think there's some other detrimental things that I can find out more about. It's bad though.
Sounds good. Anything else, commissioners? All right. Well, thank you very much. There was just a public hearing. No vote is needed. Thank you.
Yeah,
for
I
sharing
appreciate
with
the time, and I'll be back next year.
me. Sounds
our
good. We
annual
look forward
meeting.
to it. Perfect. All right. Our almost final agenda item is we have a commissioner training scheduled for next Wednesday, June 15th. And where we're welcoming some new commissioners to our team.
Chairwoman, we do have one new commissioner who will replace our former commissioner, Mr. Muhlenberg. But all commissioners are welcome to attend or should attend. And it would be a refresher course. It will be very brief, and we'll go through what it means to get the packet, what it means to be in the council chambers here, safe exit if it ever needed, things like that. And I think you've all been through this at one point in time, but we'll go through it briefly and just get a refresher course and go from there.
What's that date again?
Next Wednesday, June 15th. And we'll be in the council chambers here.
And what time is that at?
I believe it's at 5:30.
Perfect.
And I won't make it.
Okay.
I'm on my way to Lake Tahoe that day.
And then our next meeting is scheduled for August 15th, 2022, so we get a month off.
Yes.
All right. Anything else from staff this evening?
The July break, commissioners, we appreciate your being here tonight, and we try to stack up items so that we're not here for just one particular item. But it was important that we get this presentation in tonight. So I don't want to bring you back in July for just, one more item. I'm hoping to have at least three items on the agenda for August. So please enjoy your month off.
Absolutely. With this time, I would like to request a call for adjournment of the June 6th, 2022 Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, have a great evening, and we will see you in August.